Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Today we are here to make this super fun 3-section folio, and I think last week we did the horizontal 3-section folio. So this week we're going to do a vertical, and I have an absolute treat for you guys. I actually matted it and I added pictures. I very rarely do projects for myself. I do a lot of these tutorials, for you guys or for gifts or requested, but I very rarely do something for me. So this one was just for me that I'm sharing with everyone. The paper collection I used was My Favorite Things by Cartabella. Super cute. It had the tea. You guys know I love a tea party. My birthday party was at a Mansion Matilda tea party, high tea. So I have my high tea. I'm 43. That's what I was calling it. And then here is the business card from the place that we went. It just opens with 2 magnets here. I haven't decided if I wanted to add anything here, but I wanted to have the back of the card showing, hence why it's on the cover. So you can see both the front and the back. Just added a little card right here. I could have added another picture, but I printed all the pictures from my birthday party, and then I made the folio around how many pictures I wanted. So here we go. There's 1 section. 2 sections, 3 sections, and a bonus. So let's go ahead and start with section 1. These are the guests. I printed off everyone. So what I did was I brought my HP Sprocket, the little 2x3 mini printer, which is, I thought it was right here. There she is. Here she is. And what I did at my party is while everyone was eating, I printed off the small version of our picture together. I had David take the picture, as we were walking in. So then I just went ahead and put everyone's name on their picture. Super fun. We're just gonna quickly flip, because So this right here is 11 pictures just on this first section. Obviously, if you use something smaller than 4x6, you can have more than just 11 pictures. Here is my cake, and I just kind of printed off, these little sceneries. This was such a great, these are my gifts, little mini album for people like me who don't like to mat. So I had just very little places to mat. And I was able to use some of the cards that I wanted to add in there. Oh, now that I said that, I wish I would have added the birthday cards people gave me. But that's okay. I have a whole different birthday card box that I love. It's like a hat box that I keep them all in. And then this is just random pictures of the place settings, the food, everybody enjoying, the little tea light. And then our final coffee, and another little card down here. And then we have our little bonus section here. I only added 3. At this point, David, bless his heart, I had ran him ragged the night before, the morning of, get this, do that. He was Cinderella for sure, and I was the stepmom for real. But, he didn't mind. It was my birthday, so. Then I had to try on 8,000 outfits. I didn't know how to tie the dress. And, I yelled at him for not knowing how to tie a dress. You know how we do. So just some more little random pictures. My birthday flowers. Danielle and her whole getup. And then my birthday hair. And then I just wrote a little, sorry, my McAfee told me something. I just wrote a little thing about the day. I wrote it on my little journal, and so I added that in, and I thought it was perfect. how did I have this? And so I just did this like a little waterfall flip. And that is that. Super, super great way. So it held how many pictures? We had 11. I think we had 10, 20, 31, 33, 35, 37. And obviously you could have added more here. So you could probably get 37, 38, 39. You could probably get 39 or 40 4x6s. So a lot of room. And I didn't have to do matting. I just used the white cardstock, and so all of my pictures had a white border, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous. You know I'm a border girl. All right, so let's go ahead and make this. Now, I did mine here so that way there was a 1/4 of an inch on either side. You don't have to make yours that big if you don't want to. I'm just going to give you the measurements that I did for this one because I don't feel like remeasuring for you. That's the honest truth. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is, well, first of all, find the measurements. Okay, here it is. We're going to make the 18 4 1/4 by 6 3/4 scored on the long side at 1/2 inch. So I have already cut out all but 3 of mine. So I'm using 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper. You can get 3 of these out of one sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get that, and then you'll pause the video and cut out the rest of yours. Okay, so, and I used 18. You can add more on your bonus set. Oh no, I just almost ripped this off. You can add more here. I just added the 3 flaps, 1, 2, and 3. But you can always add more if you want. I probably wouldn't add any more than 1 down here just because you don't want a lot of stress on these spines. If you cover yours in Tyvek, then you can add. But this book, she heavy. Let's weigh it. Hold on, let me get my thing. We're going to weigh this. All right, let's see how much she weighs. Oh my gosh. Hold on, this is acting up. Okay. It's like 12 ounces almost. So she's pretty heavy. I thought she was going to be at least a pound. I don't know how many ounces are in a pound, but it didn't say 1 on the pound. So, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty heavy. So you got to think about all that wear and tear on your spines. Use a great quality paper. I'm using the Michaels 110 pound weights. If you have Kathy King Paper Phenomenon paper, that will work too. I just wanted the white, and hers only comes in black or craft. So that's what I'm using. All right, so go ahead and get out your paper for your flaps. Okay, so if you take your 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Okay, you're going to cut the 6 3/4 first. So put your paper on the long side, cut it at 6 3/4. Save this piece, put it to the side, rotate this, and now cut it at 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. Every single piece that I have cut has not been 8 1/2. It's been over by this much. So you need them to be exactly 4 1/4. Always check that with your paper because sometimes it's a little bit bigger. But when I say they have all been over, they have all been over. Okay, now you're going to take this piece of paper, and on the long side, you're going to cut it at 6 3/4. And it should be 4 1/4 or very close on the short side. Again, my paper was bigger, so I've got to cut it all up. So that's how you get your 3 out of one sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. And then you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on the long side. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and get all of your flaps cut out, taped, scored, you know, the whole nut. And no, you do not have to use tape, obviously, if you're a glue person. You're just going to skip the tape part. I'm a tape person when it comes to flaps because I like to have them ready. And sometimes glue, I'm very impatient with waiting for it to dry, so it will shift too much for me. So we used, I'm trying to see how many 6.5 by 11s or 8.5 by 11 paper we used. We used 6 for the flaps. Okay. Now we need to go ahead and make our bases. And so you're going to cut your first piece at 7.5 by 8.5. Oops. So we just zoomed in a little bit. Let me move. I have so much stuff on my desk right now. It's crazy. It's insane and crazy at the same time. All right, so it's already 8.5. So by 7.5. Okay. And this piece gets scored on the short side. I dropped my thing right there. So on the short side, you're going to score it at 4 3/4 and 5.5. That's if you want this little tiny 2-inch closure. I just wanted it to be just a little piece of my book because I knew I wanted to put this business card down here where you could see both sides. So if you want this bigger, obviously you're going to have to make your paper bigger. Okay. If you want it an inch bigger, do it 8.5 by 8.5 or 9.5 by 8.5 or however many inches you want to go across. You're going to add that to the 7.5, if that makes sense, because your length is 8.5. You're still going to, then you have to figure out your scoring. All right, so this piece, there's no tape or glue on this piece, so we're just going to put that over here. Your next piece is going to be 6 by 8.5. So on the long side, cut it at 6. And on that short side, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 1 1/4. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, if you're a taper, we're going to go ahead and tape that 1/2 inch on the bumpy side. So the underneath. Okay. I almost forgot that. So tape it on the back. Okay, and then your next cut is going to be 5 3/4 by 8.5. And we're going to score that on the short side at 1/2 inch and 1. This is your flip part. Okay. And then we're going to tape it on the 1/2 inch closest to the cut edge on the back, on the bumpy side. Does it matter if you tape it on the wrong side? Not really. You'll just have to fold your paper the other way. It's not a huge deal, but your paper likes to fold into the bumpy, so it's easier. But on the one I did for myself, I completely forgot that step, and I had to, manipulate my paper. Okay, if you're using your glue, obviously you skipped the tape portion. Right now I'm just varnishing these lines. Okay, now the one with the 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch score lines, you're going to connect that to the one with the 3/4 inch and the 1/2 inch here. So Put your glue in here, or your tape, whatever you're using, line these up. And if you attach them to something different or the wrong side or whatever, then your folio is just going to be a little bit different. Don't throw it away. Okay. And then this side is going to be attached to the left of this one. If you were using cardstock, you can then decide if you want your book to open to the left or to the right, or if you're using non-directional paper. But I'm not sure if you have that same option if you're using directional paper. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. So line these up on the unscored edge. Okay. All right. And here's where you want to make sure that all of your things are even, because mine are not on my book, and it kind of annoyed me because I'm crazy. So see right there, this piece was taller. I didn't line it up properly. If I would have cut that off, it would have been great, but I can't cut it off now that's all decorated, because then it's going to be all weird and wonky. So double check and make sure you lined up everything properly. Yeah, for the most part. So what I was saying, your book can open from the right or from the left. You decide what you want to do, okay? I'm going to keep mine, let's see. I think I'll do this one opening from the right. This one open from the left. This one's going to open from the right. Okay. So that is your whole book. That is everything. Other than adding your flaps. Now, what I would suggest, learning curve, mat your underpieces first, okay? It's not a huge deal, but I had to add these tiny little pieces in here, and they don't match because I didn't put it exactly in the center, and so it kind of frustrated me a little bit to do that. So I would suggest matting first, and then because I didn't mat first, I didn't pay attention to how much paper I had, so I have horizontal, and then vertical, which if I had paid attention, I would have put my vertical in the middle, so that way it was horizontal, vertical, horizontal. But that's fine. It's okay. You know, and again, I had to add these little pieces because I had laid my waterfall down directly onto my page instead of matting first. So it's not a huge deal. It's just that little, but you can't tell visually that that was wrong or that it was a frustration, because it's very cohesive and it's beautiful. But that's the behind the scenes I want y'all to know. And the same thing with this one. I had to mat, and I knew this side was exactly 1/4 of an inch because I had measured, and so this one actually got scored in the wrong place, and it worked out. But as you can see, this is not 1/4 of an inch. Because again, I put this paper down, or I put my waterfall flaps down, and it wasn't in the correct spaces. So that's just my spiel there. So we are going to lay some stuff down. I'll mat some of it with you. I know, bonus. I normally don't do that. All right. So actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm determining if I want to put my mat down and put my flaps directly on my mat, or if I want to put my flaps on a separate sheet of paper like this. You know, put them on a separate paper and then glue, like kind of how we did the other folios if you've been following me. So let me pause this and think about that. Okay, the most important thing though, before we glue anything down, add your magnets, okay, or whatever closure pieces you're going to have. I'm using, let me get them. Basic gray magnets. I'm just going to go ahead and use up the rest of these large ones because it is kind of a heavy book. So I'm just going to go ahead and use up my large ones. I got mine from Miss Connie over at 2Gs, but you can get them on Amazon too. If you get them from Miss Connie, you're going to get in trouble with how much stuff you buy from her. Alright, so I need to make sure, this is where you 100% need to make sure if you're going to open from the right or open from the left, because once you put your magnets down, you know, no, I guess it doesn't matter just yet, because I can still just flip it the other way. You're right. At this point, I can still just rotate it. Alright, so let's go ahead and put that on there. Making sure it's lined up. You're going to get that good rectangle. Okay. Alright, and what I like to do is put a little tiny piece over the top. Just score tape. Because one time, well, first of all, this is how it's taught. Second of all, one time my adhesive wasn't the best on my magnet and it fell underneath my matting part and it just was horrible. So the one time I tried to deviate from how I was taught. Alright, anyway, now we can go ahead and glue on our mats. So I will do that. The other thing I like to do when I am matting around my magnets is I like to use tape on the side closest to the magnets and the two end pieces, only because I need to refill my glue. Only because I don't have the patience to sit there and hold my paper till the glue dries. And this way, I put it on the wrong side. Dang, I messed up. That's okay. It's now going to be my cover. Where there's no magnets. But anyway, so yeah, I completely threw myself off with that. Because this was supposed to be blue, floral blue. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll keep that blooper in so you guys can see. That's why you don't talk while you're trying to craft. That's okay. And I will put this piece here. Anyway, so I like to put that around the edge. So here on the bottom and the top. So that way you just glue it down. You have your tape to hold it. You don't have to hold it while it's drying. If you are going to use just glue, make sure you hold those edges because it will bubble up right here and right here because your magnet's thicker than your paper, right? So if you don't hold it down while it's trying to dry, then you will get bubbles. You can fix the bubbles easily by just adding more glue under it, you know, when you see it. But it's easier just to do this and call it done. Okay, so I'll tape this up and show you. Alright, so we're taped up. Sticky tape. Line it up. And add it. to be. So see, mine is completely sealed around these magnets. There's not going to be any bumps, and because it's far enough away from this edge, I didn't have to add tape because it's a good about 3/4 of an inch away. So that's why I do it. Okay, so let me finish matting before I show you the flaps. Guys, I was about to do the most reckless thing in the world. I was about to refill my glue over my project. Thank goodness I looked up to see if my camera was still paused, and then it dawned on me, this is not a great idea. So I'm going to refill it over the trash can. And of course, my pour was perfect because it was over the trash can. But if I would have done it over my project, you know, I would have spilled half the container on my project. So don't be reckless. All right. I'm going to continue to mat my little strips, and then I'm going to put the flaps on, and we're done. Okay, so I have decided to just be brave and put my flaps directly down. So I like to work upside down. So here's my cover, and yes, I had to readjust my plan because I had planned on this being this in a different page here, but I went ahead and just flipped it up since I made that oopsie daisy, and we're good to go. But I am going to work upside down, so I flip my book upside down. I'm going to move my glue and everything out of the way, and we're just going to add our flaps down. This part I do like to move everything off my desk because, you know, we need to get these flaps right. So right now, with my backing still on, I'm just auditioning, getting the feel for where I want it, what I like. Because, you know, you've already matted everything, so the tension is here. You can, oh, stand by. Perfect. You can, like I said before, you can put your waterfall on a single sheet of paper and then just install that single sheet in. That is less agonizing, but I live on the wild side. So, yeah, wild side, stupid side, I don't know. You're making sure you give these a good varnish, that they're lined up. And if they don't line up exactly, force them. This one doesn't line up exactly, so I'm just going to force it by doing that. That's it. Is mine equally centered? Don't know. Don't care. It looked good where I placed it, so that's where I decided to go. I'm noticing that one of these is off, so I have a little gap. I'm not going to be too worried about that little gap, okay? I'm not. So you're just going to continue, and you're going to put 5 on each section. So I will do some off camera, some on camera. Spoiler alert, I did care about the gap. I actually removed all of them. And I put the first one on crooked, and so that's why there was a gap. So, and instead of just trying to refold and manipulate it, I forgot I had bought undo. So I just used undo. That's another reason why I like tape. Because you have undo, and you can undo whatever mistake you did. Alright, I already did that side. We'll continue on with this side. Off camera, I put that waterfall down in like a minute. On camera, I can't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. Alright, and then on your little bonus one, you're going to do it just slightly different than these ones. You're going to, this is our bonus flap in here. How I did mine is that I did one on the bottom, one on the top. So I did a little border, of course. Surprise, surprise. Make it flat. Agonize way too long in the position. I mean, that is part of it, right? For some reason, when I'm on camera, I agonize. I can't do it. I put one on the top. Oh, actually, I put two on the top is what I did. So now I'm just going to line these up. And move that out the way. Border. It's stuck on my finger. Okay. And then on the top, I had put a second one. Yes, this looks like the bottom. Again, I work upside down in case you fast forward or whatever. And that's how I did mine. Okay. So you can have two on the top. Where's my book? Two on the top, two on the bottom. I just see. So you go flip. Here's the bottom one. And here's the second top one. Okay. Now, this is the other option that you have. Because I didn't mat first, I was able to cover the hinge of my two, my flaps, okay? This one here, let me show you on this section actually. See, I was able to cover that last hinge with a full piece of paper. So it just kind of looks like my book is floating. This one, I'm not going to be able to cover, I mean, I can. This last hinge, I'm just going to add this probably pattern here and just have the break. If you didn't mat first, then this whole piece would cover this, and then you just have to add your little 1/4 of an inch pieces right here and here. So it's really just your preference. Okay, let's be honest, it's really what you remember to do. You might forget, you know, to mat first or whatever the case may be. So that is your journal. All I have left to do is this side of my waterfall. And that's it. You don't want to mat. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Nope. You don't want to mat your flaps because there's no need. Your picture, okay, I'm gonna do this off camera. Your 4x6 picture is going to completely cover your flap except for your tiny little border. So don't worry about matting. Now, if you wanted to, you can, you know, use various color cardstocks and have various colors and like a rainbow, like we did with last week's horizontal. Maybe it was the week before, whenever we did this one. So your pages would have like a little bit of a border with that different color. So that's your option. So see, like that one would have that blue border, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. It matches LaShawn's shirt. Look at how beautiful that is. So, you know, that's just your what you want, just to have that peep of color peeping out, or you know, your white border. So you don't want to use your good paper because it's just going to get covered up. Okay. Alright guys, well thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my high tea 43 look because I had a great time. And now I have all these other pictures that I'm going to do something with. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Bye.